The muscle and sports supplement business is worth about $48 billion a year. Most of that money goes to products that are, at worst, a waste, overpriced powder and capsules underdosed to the point of being pointless. A smaller slice of it goes to products that can quietly damage your heart, and the reason both kinds sit on the same shelf in the same trustworthy packaging comes down to a law passed in 1994. That year, Congress passed the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, and it settled how nearly everything you see in a supplement store would be treated. It decided these products would be regulated as food, not as medicine. A drug has to be proven safe and effective before it can be sold. A supplement doesn't. Under this law, the Food and Drug Administration isn't permitted to approve a supplement before it reaches the market, and in most cases, the company doesn't even have to tell the agency the product exists. The manufacturer decides it's safe. The manufacturer prints the label, the product ships, and the agency only enters the story afterward, once something has already gone wrong. That's the foundation the whole business is built on, and it's worth sitting with before we talk about hearts. The honest products and the dishonest ones live under the same light regulatory roof, and from the outside, you often can't tell them apart. The pre-workout category by itself makes up close to $20 billion of that total. So let me draw the line clearly, because most of what gets sold is fine. Whey protein is fine. Creatine monohydrate is one of the most studied compounds in all of sports science, and the evidence says it's safe for healthy people. Caffeine at sane doses is just caffeine. If your shaker bottle has protein powder and creatine in it, this video isn't about you, and nothing in it should scare you off either one. The danger doesn't live in the boring products. It lives in the ones that promise something the boring products can't, and it gets in through the same door the law left open. Start with the stimulants, because that's where the cardiovascular damage is most direct. There was an ingredient called DMAA, short for dimethylamine. For a while it sat inside some of the best-selling pre-workouts in the country. Products with names like Jack 3D and OxyElite Pro. It worked the way it promised. It also raised blood pressure and narrowed blood vessels. And the FDA eventually tied it to a string of reports that included shortness of breath, chest tightness, and heart attacks, along with several deaths. In 2013, the agency moved against it. One manufacturer, USP Labs, ended up destroying product estimated at more than $8 million at retail, rather than keep fighting. Another company had its inventory seized, and after years in court, ordered condemned and destroyed. If the story ended there, it would be a story about a regulator doing its job. It doesn't end there. What happened next is the part that actually matters. Once DMAA was named and banned, formulators didn't stop reaching for synthetic stimulants. They renamed them. A nearly identical compound, DMBA, started showing up. Then another, DMHA, also sold as Octadrene, a substance that had once been an inhaled drug for breathing conditions and had never been approved to be swallowed in a pre-workout. A Harvard physician named Peter Cohen has spent years buying these products off the shelf and sending them to a lab, and the lab keeps finding the same thing, stimulants that aren't supposed to be there. Stimulants disguised on the label as botanical extracts, dressed up as though they came from an orchid called dendrobium, or from a shrub, or from a plant most people have never heard of, when the chemistry says they were built in a factory. In one batch of products he tested, a third of them contained undeclared stimulants, 2 of them the banned DMAA itself, years after it was supposed to be gone. These aren't exotic risks. A stimulant that drives up your heart rate and your blood pressure is doing the one thing you don't want done quietly and at an unknown dose. And the unknown dose is exactly what the proprietary blend makes possible. The proprietary blend is the quiet engine of the whole problem. The law requires a company to list its ingredients. It does not, inside a proprietary blend, require the company to tell you how much of each one is in there. So a label can show you a blend of 15 things adding up to one number, and the real amount of the stimulant inside it is whatever the company decided that day, and you have no way to know. You're dosing a drug whose dose is a trade secret. For caffeine, that's uncomfortable. For a synthetic stimulant the FDA has already called unsafe, hiding behind the name of a plant, it's something else. That covers the products that are trying to look legal. There's a second tier that isn't really pretending. SARMs are the clearest example. The letters stand for selective androgen receptor modulators, and they're experimental drugs that were never approved for human use. They get sold anyway, online, labeled as supplements or as research chemicals not for human consumption, with a wink. They carry cardiovascular and liver risks, and the FDA has warned about them directly. One man who built a business selling them the head of a company called Enhanced Athlete, went to federal prison for 3 years, in part for selling a SARM alongside an industrial chemical called DNP that has killed people who used it to lose weight. The prohormones sit in the same neighborhood, compounds that behave like steroids once they're inside you, while wearing the costume of a supplement on the shelf. And then, at the end of the line, there are the actual anabolic steroids. They aren't legally sold as supplements, but they live in the same world, marketed to the same person, often as the next step after the SARMs and the hardcore pre-workout stopped being enough. This is where the phrase, destroying your heart, stops being a figure of speech. The cardiology on anabolic steroids isn't ambiguous, and it isn't new. When you flood the body with synthetic testosterone far above anything it would ever make on its own, the heart muscle thickens. The left ventricle, the chamber that does the hard work of pushing blood out to the body, grows in a way that can look, on a scan, like a genetic heart disease called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Researchers using cardiac MRI on recreational bodybuilders have measured this directly. Steroid users had thicker heart walls and lower pumping efficiency than men who trained just as hard without the drugs. Over time, the steroids also push up blood pressure, worsen cholesterol, stiffen the arteries, and make the blood more likely to clot. It isn't one mechanism, it's several, all pointing the same direction. The case reports are the part that stays with you. A bodybuilder in his 50s walks into a hospital short of breath, and his heart is pumping at 15% of what it should. His testosterone comes back at 30,000 nanograms per deciliter, in a body that would normally run somewhere between 280 and 1100. Another man, 30 years old, getting ready for a contest, ends up in the most severe category of heart failure, on a ventilator. Some of these men recover much of their heart function after they stop, with months of proper treatment. Some don't. Whether the damage reverses seems to depend on how much, how long, and how early someone steps in, which is a polite way of saying it's partly luck. Here's the uncomfortable seam running through all of it. A young man doesn't usually decide one morning to inject testosterone. He arrives there. He starts with a pre-workout because the label promised focus and pumps. He moves to a stronger one because the first stopped hitting. He finds a forum, and the forum talks about something the supplement store doesn't carry, and the something is a SARM, and it's easy to buy. The progression feels like ambition the whole way down, and the industry's marketing is built to make it feel exactly like that. The deregulated structure doesn't just allow the dangerous products to exist. It arranges them on a gradient, each one a half step past the last, with nothing in the middle telling you that you've crossed from a stimulant into a drug. I want to be careful here, because it would be easy to take this too far, and a lot of videos do. The overwhelming majority of people who buy supplements never touch a steroid and never come to harm. Most pre-workouts on most shelves are over-caffeinated and overpriced and basically inert beyond that. The protein powder is just food. If this video talks you out of your creatine, I've done something wrong, because creatine is one of the few things in this entire industry the science actually loves. The boring basics are the whole game, and if you want them programmed for you, my lean bulk program is linked below. The scam then isn't that supplements are poison. It's subtler than that and harder to put on a thumbnail. A category of products holding some genuinely dangerous things has been allowed to regulate itself, sold next to the oatmeal and the vitamins, wearing the same trustworthy packaging, so that the protein powder and the disguised stimulant and the gateway to the prohormone all sit under one word the law made deliberately soft: supplement. The word does the work. It tells your brain this is food, this is safe. The people who made it had to prove something to somebody. Under the law from 1994, mostly, they didn't. What you can actually do about this is less dramatic than the problem, but it works. Read the ingredient list, and if you see a proprietary blend hiding the dose of a stimulant, put it back. Treat any ingredient that looks like a chemical wearing a plant's name as a reason to walk away. Look for products tested by an independent third party, the ones that pay an outside lab to confirm what's in the tub, because under this system, that testing is voluntary, which means its presence tells you something about the company, and be suspicious of the gradient, of the product that exists mainly because the last one wasn't extreme enough. That suspicion is the thing the marketing is designed to switch off. You don't need that ladder. My Lean Bulk program shows you how to build real muscle with proven basics, no mystery ingredients, no guessing. The links in the description. Start there, not at the supplement store. The heart you're training in the gym and the heart these products can damage are the same organ. The protein and the creatine were never the threat. The bottle that had to prove the least is the one to watch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.